on those curbs, especially with these cars. They got a lot of clearance, a lot of compliance in the suspension. You can just attack those curbs. You come out, drop here, down through what they call the laces, and Caleb just flowing it through there, nice line there. And this is what I'm talking about. You want to use all of that exit curve. You get down here, and it drops away, but right as you get on the brakes and start your turn in, it climbs. And you can really sort of huck the car in there, and then it flattens out right as you get up to about here. It flattens out in terms of the camber. You still climb that little bit of a hill. And the interesting thing to me, Andrew, is this corner coming up, which is essentially the heel of the boot. This is one that has a huge amount of runoff on the outside, but it's self-policing in a way, because if you really get over there, to get back on track, even if there's no cars coming, it just costs you huge amounts of time.
Well, that was a tour around the racetrack with Greg Kramer, I suppose, and some really good pointers for these drivers, maybe to put in their pocket for this evening. Here's a look at somebody we haven't talked about yet in this qualifying session, Andrew Wozencroft in the number 80. I know he took a header up the uphill last week at Lime Rock, so hopefully he can kind of come back from that. Court Schmidt we talked about earlier. How about Stephen Blethen in car 50, currently 12th quick on the racetrack?
Yeah, he's having a solid season as well. You were talking about he's currently 17th in the points, but doing a nice job. Qualifying has not been his strong suit for Stephen, but he has been really good in the races in terms of making lots of passes, and always seems to bring it home. So he's doing a nice job. Andrew Wozencroft, it's been one of those sort of frustrating seasons for him because he's quick. But he has been involved in some incidents, and most of them, nothing at all that he's done. He's just been caught up in stuff. Another driver in that same boat is sort of Skip Brock. They found themselves sort of being pinballs or pinatas. But when you look at, for Andrew, he always seems to finish a bit better than he qualifies and where he starts. And that is, to me, that's a big testament to somebody's racecraft, is if you're able to make passes. And of course, the farther up you go in the order, once you get into the top 10 in these races, those passes come a lot more difficult. And if you still are able to make some passes, you're doing one heck of a job, because up in the sharp end of this field, there's some real guns.
With 5.5 minutes left to go, Joshua Soto jumps up to the top spot, drafting off of Morgan Burkhardt nonetheless. So, well, there you go. Car 77 right up ahead by about a tenth and a quarter. Do want to mention weather conditions for this race, at least so far in the session. 72 degrees in the air, 92 degrees on track, and humidity really not anything to be worried about. Winds are nice and calm as well, down around 3 miles per hour out of the northwest. So it's a perfect day for racing, quite honestly, in the sim. A perfect virtual day, we'll say.
Well, absolutely, and that track temp of 94, it's up there a bit, but it's nowhere near as warm as it can be. And this track, the one thing, because it's got so much grip in it, Andrew, you can really push the tires a little bit. Because normally when you really struggle with tires is when the car starts sliding around on a low grip track, and you get all of that surface heat. That can really torture the tires. Here, there's so much grip that if you're not pitching the car sideways, you can really lean on those tires for a long time. Soto almost running wide at the exit there of the laces. Realized that cost him a little bit, just got out of the way and let the pursuing drivers come through. He's up top, but not by a lot right now over Burkhardt. And then those two, though, you look at the order right now, Andrew, they've got a little bit of a margin back to the rest of the field. Rice Puto now has jumped up into third spot, pushing Gill back to fourth. Brendan Horn continues to be really, really impressive here so far, with Beans Forster sitting in sixth. Seth Rowland in the seventh spot. Mickey, as you said, in the eighth spot. Deacon Greenfield in ninth, and Wozencroft in 10th.
Here's an onboard look with car 45, Brennan Horan in the fifth position, just ahead of Beans Forster, Giancarlo Schooler, and some others on the top 10. And that run into the bus stop alone is rather impressive. Watching it from the right side of the car and how close they get to the end of the ARBCO. For a second, I thought he was crashing. I had to look back over from timing and scoring. That was that got me a little bit of a jump scare. But car 45 definitely using every inch of the racetrack to try and go a little faster. Likely not going to do so on a lap with no driver in front of him, no draft help. But what he can do is continue learning how these tires are going to progress over the course of a race. Not very long races this evening, but still worth getting this data, worth getting a feel for this car as the track breaks in, the tires break in, and you just burn some fuel off the car.
Absolutely. I mean, the dynamic of the car changes, doesn't it? And yes, the tires are more worn, but as you burn off fuel, and I mean, these sims are so amazing, as Beans Forster just pulls off here and has some sort of an issue. But these sims are so amazing in terms of the reality of what's unfolding on the car. As you burn off fuel, in theory, the car becomes more responsive in every way, right? Because it's lighter. It'll accelerate quicker. It should brake better and later. It should corner just a little bit better. And if you saved your tires, these cars just become a more responsive. That's why near the end of these races, we see some just exceptional racing.
On board here at Deacon Greenfield, and yeah, in every way, once the fuel burns off, the car changes, and really everything you do to one of these Miatas especially, whether it's adding a little bit of fuel, taking fuel away, burning one tire, burning all four tires, it's going to change the way these cars handle, especially because you rely so much on weight shifting with the Miata. You rely on the little bit of weight there is in this little Japanese sports car to help you get around the corners. So especially if you can pitch the car on the nose, if you have less car at that point, less fuel to pitch on the nose, that's going to change how the car handles a little bit. Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Absolutely, depending upon your setup. If it can get a little bit too darty sometimes, at turn in, or if you really tortured the fronts, you can develop that nasty push as you watch them through the chicane. But the fascinating thing here is you can really lean on these cars for the duration of these races. Although we have seen it at the end when drivers have said, "Yeah, I just pushed the tires a little bit too hard." And one of the nice things about this track is it isn't like some others where you've got a predominance of corners in a certain direction, right? You've got plenty of lefts, plenty of rights. So, you don't torture one side constantly out there. And that can make a significant difference for these guys.
Yeah, you're right. In fact, I've really never thought about that. Coming from the NASCAR world, I guess it feels more like a right-hand predominant racetrack where you have fewer corners to the left. But once you add in the boot, you really get that variety, especially because you have to have two really important lefts to come back around to end the circuit at turn 11 here. So it really does add that extra dynamic, I think, of wearing the tires decently, evenly, and not being just an oval. I guess that's a Popeye's biscuit away from being an oval or a road course. Right. Either way. Here's a look at James and Huffman, by the way. 27th out of 27 cars. He and Ricardo Ray have not gotten a lap in yet. But this is lap 3 for Jameson, so he's been ticking the off tracks every single lap, or I guess it looks like in some cases ticking the wall with the right side of that car. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of work for him to do in our first race.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we saw him at Lime Rock, and he was pretty quick there. So, maybe it's something that he just doesn't have quite the same familiarity with this track. But we saw him being really, really stout at Lime Rock as qualifying is ended. And as always, just an exceptional session that we watched there, and it just flies by. And that's what makes this so cool here. Here's a look at the track itself, and you can see there that turn 1, you fall down into the 90, and that's that massive runoff down there. And if you go off it a little bit, but then stay on it, you can actually gain time. So that'll be a penalty. Then up through the S's, you can see the elevation. There's the inner loop or the bus stop where you just attack the outer loop, and you can see then it falls from the outer loop down all the way through the laces through turn 6. And then down into the toe of the boot, and that's where, and you can see it right. It's about one of the lowest parts of the track. Then you've got that little climb, so you can really throw the car in through the toe. You climb up over that rise, drop down into turn 8, and you want to get through 8 well because you're climbing that hill. If you get 8 wrong, you just lose all kinds of pace because you're going uphill to a very stout climb. And then turn 9, and as you can see, it's an open corner. It's more than 90 degrees, but it takes a long time to get around, and it's a blind approach, and as you get to the top, it flattens out. And if you get it wrong, you're going to struggle there a little bit. And then turn 10 is almost a flat-out flick through the left and then into that final turn 11. But you notice turn 11, you come out of that turn, that wall, that guardrail is right there. So you've got to be really cognizant of that. Couple of big things to talk about. Full Send Sims, obviously our title sponsor, Kort Schmidt, envisioning this series. And I'll tell you what, they build a remarkable sim, and whether it's for sim racing or for real-world training, they also bring a trailer with the sims to the tracks. It really is remarkable, and just a huge thank you to the folks at Full Send Sims for this series. 3P Logistics and the owner Frank Rodriguez, one of the presenting sponsors here. Just an amazing organization. Race car storage, maintenance, repair, transportation, and logistical support for everybody associated with you at the track. And Final Turn Motorsports, our other presenting sponsor, owned by Rob Greenwood. And the full-service prep shop and trackside support. They do it all. Driver development, licensing, and pro-level racing. Just great to have them on board. And just a reminder, since these are the final 2 races of the season, first, second, and third in the championship will all receive trophies. First place will receive a direct drive wheelbase. Second place will receive a set of load cell pedals. Third place will receive a choice. You can get either an H-pattern sequential shifter or a 2-year iRacing paid subscription. Anybody that's an admin or an instructor are not eligible for the sim hardware, but they will get prizes. And we are out and away on our parade lap.
Let's take a look through our starting grid. Greg, here's your top 10.
Yeah, Josh Soto, really impressive to see him up on pole. Anybody who out-qualifies Morgan Burkhardt, which he did, has done an absolutely superb job. Morgan in the number 40 will be starting second.
Starting from row number 2, you'll find Rowan Gill and Nicholas Rasputo in cars 174 and 13.
Starting on the inside of row 3 in the 5th spot, Beans Forster in the number 23, and Brennan Horn, I think one of his best qualifying runs, starts in 6th.
7th and 8th is Giancarlo Schooler and Caleb Patry, both of them getting ahead of a couple of drivers in the top 10, very close in their qualifying times.
Moving to the 9th spot, the 87 of Seth Rowland, and Eric Mickey, a driver that you're familiar with, rolls off 10th in the number 4.
Deacon Grinfield and Andrew Wozencroft, a couple of drivers we talked about a lot in qualifying. They start from the outside and inside of row 6.
Starting 11th, the 13th spot in the number 6 is Caleb Pocock, and Kort Schmidt of Full Send Sims starts in the 14th spot in the white and the 172.
Cars 50 and 18, it's Stephen Blethen and Charles Bowley in row 8.
In row 9, it is Seth Spolman and Max Blanken in the number 42 and 14, respectively.
And out at your top 20, it's going to be Levi Knupp and Jim Freidhofer. That is an interesting name. I'd never heard of Freidhofer. I like that one. That's a race car name.
Yeah, isn't it? It really is. Then it'll be Jeremy Shepard starting 21st in the 535, and Charles Vaccaro 22nd in the 221.
Luis Milares, I'm going to go with there in car number 8. We'll start from 23rd. Rich Green from 24th. And we're nearly at the end of the grid here. Just a couple more drivers. You see Buttermore, Huffman, and Ray. And I got to ask you, if you are one of these guys towards the back end of the field, Greg, what's step 1 into turn 1?
Well, survive, obviously. It's the old saying, isn't it, Andrew? You can't win the race in that first corner, but you can certainly lose it. And we have had some pretty comprehensive first corner, first lap crashes here. So it's just get through turn 1. Obviously, if you run wide, don't come plowing back onto the track and collect a bunch of cars because you got to get sorted out because going side by side through the S's, even on the first lap, is not something you do easily at all. So pace car going to make the big move down into pit lane, and we are getting ready to go racing here at Watkins Glen. Wait for it. We're green! And a nice jump by Soto, but Burkhardt right with him here. Side by side, working their way down in. See if anybody's going to get an assist. And it looks like Burkhardt's going to try and sweep the outside. If he keeps it on track, he maybe did it there. He may have made that work. I don't think that's going to be a penalty. And Morgan Burkhardt using that outside run, Andrew, to really good effect.
Perfect racecraft from car 40, side by side, the next 3 or 4 rows behind him as they work up the hill through the S's and up through turn number 4 as it's technically, I guess, named. Down the back straightaway for the first time. This is where these guys really get to draft. No DRS, unfortunately, for Miatas. That would be something fun as we go off into the bus stop.
Oh, look at this big aggressive move down to the inside. really eaten that curb, and Soto has now slipped back into third, feeling a lot of heat. So an absolutely stellar and opening lap here. So far we haven't had any kind of an incident. That's exactly what they all needed to do here, and for the first time now in anger down through the laces.
Watch this spot, though, into turn 6. Such a difficult corner for these guys. Not the most difficult on the racetrack, but the first one they find in a whole field of cars, and thankfully it looks like everybody gets on through nicely. A couple of the cars here and there, side by side, maybe even 3 wide through turn 6, but up to the toe now. Everything nicely in order, I think. The top 3 getting away. Looks like 4th place, a good battle, though, with Rasputo and Horan. Everybody else just trying to find their spot.
Boy, and Rasputo going really defensive there, and that might let Horn come right by the outside as they come up over the hill now, heading down into the heel of the boot. And, yep, Horn able to shut the door, take that spot away, and I think Rasputo, but he runs way wide there. A bunch of the cars do. And, again, it'll be interesting because my understanding was that might not really have any kind of a penalty because you don't gain anything by doing that in that corner.
Into turn 10 for the first time, you see Silla side by side here with, it looks like, Beans, Forster, and Seelan Rowland. They battle for 7th and 8th positions in car 23 and 87, and Rowland way out wide in the final corner. He's going to lose a lot of spots as lap 1 goes complete, and right on the leader's coattails, Rowan Gill.
Yeah, it looked like he got really, when he jumped on the brakes a little bit for that last corner, that car got all kind of out of control on him, and he, did a nice save to keep him out of the barriers. But Burkhardt, Gill, we have seen Rowan Gill. He has been really impressive. He's the only guy other than Burkhardt to come up with early in the season with a win. Then Caleb Patry was able to put together a win, meaning winning the weekend in total here. And we go back into the pack just a little bit and see some of the really great graphics on some of these cars. They just look great. There's Rosencroft coming up through. I think that's Pocock protecting to the inside there as we head up and back through into the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, this is background 14th and 15th. Just for a moment, you can see Court Schmidt gets on by Levi Knupp and Caleb Pocock. And now, spinning there's the 50, and we've got a crash in the carousel. Max Bankin checks up, and, well, I think gets forced to check up as he gets put in the fence. And one more car off that. I think that might be Rich Green.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And Luis Milares.
Well, I'll tell you, we had an amazing opening first lap and a half. But then things started to get real in a hurry here as we hop on board right now with Soto. Remember, qualified on pole. Now he's sitting third, looking at the back of the 174 of Gill. And just up front of Gill is Burkhardt. But right now those guys have opened up over a second back to Brendan Horn and Caleb Patry right with Horn right now, as is Rasputo. You can see that group behind there. Horn sitting in the 4th spot, that all-white machine with Patry kind of glued to his rear deck.
And I wonder if these two can use the draft a little bit, maybe leapfrog a couple of times in the backstretch to try and work up to those guys ahead. Horn is still very, very close to Soto, but just a little bit out of what we iRacers consider kind of the delta you want to be within for the draft. Usually it's about a second on the racetrack. So given that it's a gap of 1.2 seconds from Horn up to Soto currently, it's not really helping the 45, but if they can get just a couple of tenths, they'll start sniffing that wake and start to catch up.
And what they want to see is they want to see maybe Soto or Gill take a little run at Burkhardt, get him side by side, slow him down just a little bit. Oh, that was a really wide run through the corner there by Brendan Horn down at the bottom of the 90. We'll see whether he gets away with that one. It was a pretty aggressive wide run there at this stage. Yeah, he's still there. I haven't seen a slowdown yet for him. So he's able to stick with it here. But right now, more importantly for Horn and Patry, it looks like Rasputo and Forster are actually closing them down a little bit. We could have a 4-car scrap for that 4th spot right now.
Yeah, as far as Brendan Horn back at turn 1, there is a limit way out there, but you've got to go quite a ways to find that limit as far as what iRacing tolerates natively for track limits. And this is, I think, one of the most egregious tracks you can use a little bit of extra pavement on, but it also does kind of fit what some racers call what's gray is okay. And, well, Court Schmidt, it looks like, has a problem there in the bus stop and goes right back to the pit lane. Car 172 quickly off the racetrack.
Yeah, that's a shame, obviously, for Court. He had a pretty solid qualifying run and had something go awry down there. And one of the things that we do see with these cars every once in a while is you just miss that shift and they just launch an engine in a hurry. And I don't know whether he just got it wrong or whether that's what happened, but obviously a solid hit for him as we take a look at the replay. Back to pit lane and back to the front of the field. And, you know, obviously what they're doing down in turn one, iRacing, in terms of allowing you to run wide, apparently they're using the NASCAR model where they just let them go back there for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, if you show up in a Mazda Miata, most times you run out that far wide, you probably will get a penalty and maybe a stern talking to once you get back to the pit lane. But yeah, NASCAR rules, what's great is okay. And I like that, I guess, motto. It makes for a lot better racing towards the end of the race, but definitely it's up to discussion.
Well, back in the day when track limits started to become an issue, you know, Mario Andretti, his version of what's gray is okay is he basically said, if you don't want me to drive on it, don't pave it. You know, it's pretty simple to me as we hop on board here with Caleb Patry as he comes through the 90 and now the climb up through the S's. And this is such an amazing piece of racetrack. But as you see, if you get it wrong in here, those guardrails are close. And Patry got a nice toe trying to get to the inside of Horn. Is he going to be able to make that stick? And is Horn able to ramp the outside? And Horn's going a lot longer way around, and Patry comes through. Change, and Caleb Patry now up into the fourth spot. Can Horn redraft him and get on the brakes down into the chicane? Nope, didn't get close enough. Just follows him through. Boy, they hammered those curves.
You know, Greg, at first I wondered if maybe that was a detriment to those guys. As you see a pass here from rolling over Greenfield, they'll keep battling through the carousel, it looks like. But at first I wondered if that was a detriment, Patry making that move into the, I guess, through the S's. But I also wonder if maybe that was a bit of a leapfrog. These guys are trying to get that draft going and hot swapping, if you will, to conserve momentum. As well, now it looks like Brennan Horan is really backing up of the 998, and well, that, I guess, raises a whole host of other questions. But at first, I was ready to call Patry out. Like, I don't know if you should pass there, whatever. But maybe that's conserving momentum. Maybe they're actually trying a conceded effort here to go catch Joshua Soto.
Well, and he may have thought, look, I'm not getting the benefit of the draft that I want to behind Horn, and so I'd rather get around him and see if I can just run him down by myself. And he's able to open that gap up a little bit, and you can see Horn now dealing with Rice Puto and Forster behind him at this stage. Everybody running really wide through turn 8, and then here we go up through 9, and this is so tricky here because of the absolute lack. You can see it. You get wide there, you're just smacking the tires or the guardrail. So you've got to really be on your game with that blind approach and turn in. And everybody doing a really nice job. And now Patry, who is a teammate to Burkhardt, I think he was saying, look, I'm not getting it done this way. I got to get out front and see if I can just flat run him down.
Rice Puto, I think, also going to try and take advantage of this next lap. It'll be lap 5 for these drivers of an expected 12 in this 25-minute race. Finding the apex nicely there is Nicholas Rice Puto through turn 1. That was a beautiful corner. Just, man, these Miatas up out of the corner, they just don't have enough oomph to really take advantage of it, but he still has momentum on his side as they head up the hill through the S's. Might he take a peek to the right side? The answer is no. He's going to stay in behind the 45 car and I think bump draft a little bit. As far as working the draft for these guys further back, I think it is more beneficial to stay in line and move that second car closer to the first car so they can leapfrog if they want to try and play the long game of catching the leaders. But at this point, they've fallen back a ways to where they might just have their own battle.
And I think that's the case, and what they're probably really worried about, obviously, is if, Horn had tried to get down the inside, or if Rice Puto had tried to get down the inside of Horn, and you run side by side, you can see it just opens that gap up. I mean, look what happened for Patry and Horn. With Patry making that pass and they were side by side, that margin has blossomed by another second from Soto back to Patry, and now it's almost 3 seconds. So, I think Patry, though, said, I've got to do it. And I wonder if what he's hoping is then when Soto, Gill, and Burkhardt up front, if they start taking the gloves off and start battling, he would be the first to be able to get up there and join them and really race with them. So I think the smart move here now is for Horn, Rice Puto, Forster, who have pretty much opened another 2 seconds back to Schooler. They just need to keep it clean and just try and stay in the hunt here. So with those guys up front, because you know what's going to happen, don't you, Andrew? Those guys up front are going to start scrapping.
At some point, right. But when does it happen? Do they wait until they're in the clear in that regard? They might, as it looks like a problem here for Spolman in car 42 out of the toe of the boot.
Yeah, it looked like a quick spin for him. It doesn't look like, well, we didn't see it, but that he got into anything. He may have just had it snap around. And that's the one thing, when it does spin in the toe sometimes because of that hill, you scrub speed in a hurry, and it does sometimes help keep you off the barriers. Oh, there was a big brush at the wall. I think it was Patry was using every ounce of racetrack.
I think might have just brushed that coat of paint off of the bright blue safer barrier there out of turn number 11. Further back in this field, there's a great battle between Levi Knupp and Jameson Huffman. This is for 14th and 15th on the racetrack. And Huffman is one of those drivers that I mentioned never got a clean lap in qualifying. Started in the 26th position, as you can see there on the graphic. Currently 15th. That is plus 11 spots. And working on some more as he races here with Levi Knupp out of the 90 and up the hill.
Yeah, he's doing an absolutely superb job, and I'm not surprised that he's making his way through the pack, because when he's raced with us before in this championship, Huffman has been really quick, and he just got caught out in qualifying. But you can see he's really flying right now and doing everything he can. It'll be interesting to see if he dives down here and then pops to the outside. Does it look like Knupp maybe tried to come over and cover here?
Into the bus stop, side-by-side contact, and Huffman out into the grass. And he's going to come back and sweep across and get Levi Knupp. And Knupp's going to spin on exit, collect the 6 of Pocock. And we've really got ourselves a mess down here into the carousel. Oh, my. Vaccaro.
Hit there.
And we're not done.
Another one. Oh, my goodness.
Wow. I just hope Levi Knupp is not in a motion rig. That was a mess.
Yeah, that'll rattle the old teeth if you are in a motion rig.
That was
back into the pits. Take a wow. That was incredible.
Here's the last bit of this.
But watch this one. I don't think I've ever seen a car that high without it, somebody doing something intentional to launch like that. That was incredible.
Here's the replay into the bus stop between Huffman and Knupp. You see just the little bit of initial contact. And that poor car going through the access road ends up watching all of this happen in front of him as Knupp gets sent off into the barrier there. Actually stopped and just watched all of this. That's one heck of a view, as that was the 222 or 221, I think, of a car that came in and initially hit Knupp, and then I'm not sure what car that was that really sent him skyward, but that is a spectacular way to crash.
Absolutely, and it almost looked to me like that the first car that got into him, the car that had kind of run wide over there, may have, at that point, he may have been eyeballing those guys.
This is the view from Court Schmidt.
Right there, yeah. And this guy coming through, I think he was watching that car to the right and never saw. Look at that. Holy cow.
That is one of the most unique views you'll ever see in sim racing. That was from Court Schmidt, who was in 26th, 2 laps down. He had just stopped at the bus stop to let those guys go by, and in turn saw a car go to the moon. A new space program maybe for Full Send Sim, something they can look into, as we've got a nose-to-tail battle for the race lead down into the bus stop one more time.
Heading into our final 10 minutes, and I'll tell you, that Court Schmidt guy, right? Entrepreneur, provocateur, visionary with this series, and now cameraman. That's impressive.
And maybe the next Elon Musk with a space program on his hands. He's going to have to get a hold of Levi Knupp here and send him to the moon.
Yeah. Well, Knupp now has earned the title not just race car driver, but literally pilot. As we're watching this scrap here, I'll tell you what, they are just driving away from Patry, Horn, and the guys that, Patry's idea of trying to run them down or be close enough should they start scrapping, looks like that may have sort of dropped off just a little bit here. And then you got Roland, Schooler, a little bit of a gap there, and then still right there in the top 10 is Mickey.
There's onboard with Rasputin, and you good thing you mentioned Eric Mickey back here in the 10th spot. He is in drafting range to guys like Schooler in the 111 and even Roland. So these guys are kind of in a more spread out lines. They're formed up in a sense, right? They're 8th, 9th, and 10th. They're in their kind of little trio. They just have a little more space between them to race. And I'm sure at some point, but by the time this race comes to a close, they'll have an opportunity to race one another. I'm sure at least Schooler and Mickey will come to a precipice at one point or another and actually fight this 9th spot out. But that little group ahead of them, these 4 cars, I'll never get tired of watching these guys.
No, they have just been battling, and every time Patry eases away just a little bit, Horn with a little push or whatever from Rice Pudo starts to come right back after him here. And here you see now Rice Pudo, as we're watching from Beans Forster, looking to the inside, and if Beans can come up on the inside, he can pinch him. Oh, and a huge lunge down to the inside. Nice job by Brendan Horn trying to square up and come back the other way. And looked like Rice Pudo just drifted right back into his path and just blunted that attack. And that's going to allow Patry now to open up a little bit of breathing. Look how close they're running.
Really solid move there from Patry over Rice Pudo. That was, sorry, the other way around. Rice Pudo over Horn. That was solid stuff through turn 1. Textbook, almost.
Yeah, exactly. And now what's got to happen, if these guys want to get back up into and race with Patry at this point. And at this point, Horn's going to be maybe a little bit of red mist. I want to get back through and do what I can. Beans Forster just sort of laying back right now and watching everything. But just that little bit of an attack, and you can see that margin, about 0.7 of a second, Patry up suddenly on Rice Pudo.
And that red mist was Horn going a little bit into the grass on the exit of the bus stop and just running a little bit through the, I guess, no-go zone, but didn't get himself a time penalty as he's going to run up here on Rice Pudo for turn 7, the toe. Stays back, though.
Yeah, that was a great run by Horn through the laces. That was one of the best lines that I've seen driven through there, and you can see how much he closed back up on Rice Pudo. And he just really drove a super clean line. And I love these shots down low, just how close these guys are running here. So you can see Patry there out by himself just a little bit. And Rice Pudo, then Horn and Forster just covering Horn 6 right now.
Some trouble in the last lap for Jamison Huffman. He's now out of the race in position 24. Off of the racetrack for about a minute or so now. That was in the early part of this last lap. But we stay watching in this top 10. And Mickey, as we mentioned, is starting to close in on Giancarlo Schooler now for the, still for the 9th spot, but now within a couple of tenths. They'll be battling, I'd imagine, within the next lap or so. 6 minutes and change left in this race, just under 7. And puffing the wall again.
Yeah, and Roland in a couple of corners has run really wide. He keeps doing that, and that's going to let Schooler and Mickey join up here. And it looks like we got Beans Forster now taking a look down the inside of Brendan Horn, down into the 90, down into turn 1. Slices through. Horn now going to try and counterpunch as Beans runs wide. Beans' responsibility not to just move over and jam Horn. He does it gently. Horn sees him coming. May have been just a little bit of a touch there, but now they approach the S's and they are side by side. And in theory, Horn's got the better line as they come to the right-hander here. But the question is he gets a little bit of gives a little bit of a tap there as well. Who's in the better position at this point? He is really trying to shove Rice Pudo along and stay clear of Forster, isn't he?
Yeah, Horn gave a big shot there to the 13 car to get them running, but now side by side to the bus stop. That never ends well, and there goes the Rick Motec 45 hard into the tire stack on the exit of the bus stop, and Brennan Horn sent down the order quickly.
Yeah, that was a tough run for him. He was going so well, but he just tried to stay side by side, and Beans just did a beautiful job of staying on the outside enough going into the second curve, the first left of that chicane right here. Beans just kept the car there, so Horn couldn't get back down the apex. Oh, there was a little touch there as well, and that sends Horn off.
Yeah, just that little bit of contact. We'll watch it one more time, and this was the climb up the hill through the S's, and nearly contact a couple of times. There was contact here as the 45 got the 13 going. Horn trying to get Rice Pudo further out. You see him really all over the bumper, NASCAR style to the back straightaway, but then it all just comes to a precipice, as I mentioned earlier, here on the bus stop. Tiny little bit of contact there, gets him sideways, and there he goes. Yeah,
and I mean, Horn, that he had clouded that curb that ran a little bit wide, and that started the rotation on the car, and then the tap from Forster sort of completed the deal here. And as we're now under 5 minutes to go, back up front for just a little bit, And these guys, no matter what Burkhardt does, he can't shake Gil and Soto. They are just staying right there. And we're getting to the point in the race here with these long laps on this track that we're going to start to see the gloves come off. These guys are going to start battling. It's 3.4 miles around this track, so the laps take a little while here. So we don't have many laps left in this one.
Last lap for Soto, about nearly 2 seconds actually off his best. And I don't know if that's tires or these guys just. I'd imagine that's definitely tire heat playing a role. But these guys not making many moves, not really drafting too much. They're just staying in a line. They're not using the draft to go faster. But here we go, Soto a move.
As you talk about it, Soto now saying enough. Coming up the inside of Rowan Gil. Gil going to try and stay put around the outside.
Wow.
And you can see, look at that move by Soto. That was a great move by Gil, certainly, but Soto read it. And instead of trying to force his way through, just tucked right back in behind. But look at that. Just that little bit of side by each. And Burkhardt sails away down into the into the laces of the boot.
And you know what? It's hard to find guys that have that good of a sense of what's going on around them in the sim to back out, in the case of Soto, and let Rowan Gil come back over across the racetrack in self-preservation. A lot of guys, especially in iRacing, will just hang alongside and say, oh, well, you came over and hit me. It's your fault. Well, no, you could have stayed out and still had this race and kept racing these last 3 minutes, stayed in it, and potentially win. We'll see if Joshua Soto is able to now get up there and get Gil back into this battle for the race lead. Regardless, that was really, really good stuff.
It was. One thing that Burkhardt is not well known for is making, mistakes. And if he gets a little bit of a gap like that, he just turns the wick up, it seems, and really forces these guys to come after him. But they have not lost any more ground. In fact, they've closed up a couple of tenths. And, this battle is shaping up back here, isn't it? And that's what I was saying. I was watching Roland, and he's like that. He just keeps running wide, and that lets Schooler and Mickey come right back after him, and I think Schooler's through.
Schooler goes on by into turn 10, and Roland definitely using the most of the pavement and then some, but Mickey alongside, and contact there. Mickey's going to drift through turn 11 and hang on to it as we get the white flag this evening in race 1. One more lap to go here at Watkins Glen, and, gloves are off. Let's go.
Yeah, that was one heck of a save by Mickey there. And look at this. They're still going at it here. Soto tried to go around the outside of Gil. Down through turn 1. I think they may have accepted at this point that maybe Burkhardt's now just going to, he's not that far up the road, but now you can see Soto trying the outside here, just trying anything he can at this stage to try and do something. And I think the impressive thing about Soto there, on that last lap was he said, look, if I stay there, I might wreck. If I give it up, at least I'll still be on the podium. It's pretty savvy racecraft.
That it is, and actually, Gil, I think, used that move that time into the bus stop to actually catapult himself not only well ahead of Soto, but I think he made up a lot of time on Burkhardt that time through the inner loop, makes up at least a tenth or so, not about a half second behind Morgan Burkhardt, and almost equally far in front of Soto, but Burkhardt is just so good there in turn 6, pulls more time in the laces, and Gil, I think, is struggling at this point in the race, lost 2 tenths in that corner alone, now making a quarter second.
Yeah, he made up almost 2 tenths, as you said, in the inner loop or the bus stop, but has lost it now. And at this stage, Gil now is seeing a mirror full of white once again from Soto. These two really putting on a great race here. It's cost them potentially maybe a shot at the win here, as Burkhardt now up by 3/4 of a second as they head down through turn 8 for the last time. As
soon as Gil had something, he lost it right back. Still in this battle side, now nose to tail, almost side by side. Who knows? They're throwing chicken fingers, I guess, at each other through turn 9 and through the final couple of corners. Looks like it's all car 40.
It is, and he's just eaten away a little bit more here through that sequence of turns. Here's the wicked quick turn 10. Get it over to the other side of the track, set up, just dab the brake, get that nose planted, and on the throttle through turn 11, onto the front straight. Morgan Burkhardt does it again, adding another win to a remarkable season. Soto giving it a go, couldn't quite get there, and still finishes on the podium and really, really close to the back of Gil as they come through. Patry locks down 4th, and Forster on the last lap slips through on Rice Pudo and picks up the final spot in the top 5.
We got a battle here. Roland, I guess they came across the line, but Roland and Mickey very close there at the line. There's Wozencroft across, and how about Bocock and Shepard? Nose to tail through the final corner. Shepard going to have an opportunity, puts himself in the fence, and consider that done for 12th and 13th position. And that was our last good battle on the racetrack, but really good stuff. Pocock able to get that spot.
You know what that was for Shepard there, Andrew?
That was commitment.
Was a full send.
Yeah.
Full send.
There you go. Okay. I got you. Full sends. Yeah. I read it.
Yeah. Any way we can sneak that in, we're always gonna, because this is just too much fun, and Full Send Sim's doing a great job. So, wow, it's another race that's been impressive. But in this one, we've had margins of victory in the thousandths of the second here, and for Burkhardt, that was almost the second, but it was all because Gil and Soto got to battling. And here's Brendan Horn trying to come back up through the pack after that off. He's going to make a nice outside move there through that final turn, and trying to just gather it up and get anything he can here. Was that Bankin he just went around?
That was Max Bankin in 20th now. So that was good for 19th spot. Louis Malaris and Charles Vaccaro will be the last two cars to finish in 21st and 29th. A few cars out of this race by the end. Court Schmidt, Rich Green, Jameson Huffman, and Levi Canup. As we're waiting on Luis Malaris, there he is out of turn number 11. And finally, Charles Vaccaro, after a couple of incidents, he will come across and finish this race.
Yep, and as you said, Canup, the astronaut, coming through. And Burkhardt adds another win. He came in here with a serious point lead, and so now that was the penultimate race of the season, and we get this little break and a reset here, and we are going to get ready to go for the final race of this first season of the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata series, and just some beautiful looks at this track. If you've never been here in person, put it on your schedule. Come for the 6 hours. In the fall, usually in mid-September, they have one of the most amazing vintage race weekends, vintage and historic cars. I went out there once for the Formula 5000, was the decorated class, one of my favorite class in North American racing ever. It was basically Formula One cars with Trans Am V8s in the back, and you come to one of these historic weekends here at the Glen, man. The whole thing, you just step back in time. It's a great facility.
Looks like we've got a couple of drivers to talk to you, Greg. A couple of fans, maybe, in the waiting room here. Morgan Burkhardt first up, fresh off a victory.
Hey, Morgan, just another great run for you here. And every time it looked like you'd start to ease away a little bit, those two guys behind you would just run you right back down again. But when they started racing, obviously that started to create some gaps. Were you just trying to get them to have to really push hard to come after you?
Pretty much, yeah. I was focusing on trying to save my tire while forcing them to run their tire off. So it's a really weird juggle to have to contemplate as you're going through the race. But I didn't think that I would be able to run away unless something happened. And the pace felt pretty good. The tire started to go off at the end. I got pretty lucky when Josh started the fight Rowan with 2 to go, and I was able to get a good enough buffer that I could start to ease away. Because I think if it gets above 6 or 7 tenths to the car behind and they don't actively bump, I think it makes running away a lot easier. So hopefully we'll see some of that next race.
Yeah, absolutely. How's the grip, on this track? I had talked to the Open about the repave of the track and just generating monster grip. Is it still there these days?
Oh, for sure. On new tires, this car is just glued to the ground. I mean, you can pretty much you brake a little bit on entry and then put your foot on the floor and it just sticks to the ground. It's awesome, but you have to be careful about it because that uses up a lot of the tire. And
yeah, I would imagine.
You'll find that if you do that too often, you're going to be done after like 10 or 15 minutes and you're sitting ducked in the last 10. So it's a juggle.
What's your favorite corner on this track, or favorite section?
I really like coming out of the outer loop, the toe of the boot and going into the boot. But the bus stop has got to be one of my favorites. It's just such a sendy corner. You get all jacked up on the curbs, you launch the car, and it's just, when you get it right, it's awesome.
Yeah, I heard somebody once say hucking it in there, and that is a spot where you do it, and you do it awfully well, man. Congratulations, another win. One more race to go, but obviously you're looking pretty good for this championship. So go have some fun in this last one.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You got it.
How could you not like the bus stop? I mean, how could that not be your favorite place on the racetrack here at Watkins Glen? That is, yeah, I agree very much there with Morgan. That is a full send corner, as I learned.
Yeah, and there are so many great corners here, but when you're doing that, that kind of right, left, right flick, and at every one of those little flicks, you're just absolutely, diabolically using the curbs. It's so fun, and there is consequence there, as we've seen. If you catch that third curb, and that curb is a little higher than the others, and if you get that wrong, you tend to hook it and just snap right off into the barrier. So it isn't one you can just throw it in there with no consequence. But man, when you get it right, it is just incredibly satisfying, as you can see. And it's a fun piece of racetrack. There's no question about that.
A few seconds in between races here. It looks like we've also got Court Schmidt. You want to go ahead and grab him?
Yeah. Hey, Court.
Hey, Greg. How we doing, buddy?
Well, we're doing well. Obviously, you had a pretty good qualifying run. What happened to you over there in the inner loop or in the bus stop?
I beefed it in the bus stop. I dropped the wheel and off I went for a ride.
Well, I'll tell you what. Just want to say thanks here because obviously this, we're heading into the final race of this first season for your series for Spec Miata. And just one, thank you for having the vision to think about this series, and then to be so proactive in promoting it, getting great prizes for everybody, and then having some fun and being able to and willing to get out there and race as well, man.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't do it alone. That's for absolutely sure. We've got a great team working on everything behind the scenes. You guys doing the broadcast, Andrew Benah and Beans Forrester, Jim Friedhofer, Morgan's come on board now, and everybody's been just absolutely amazing in the support and everything. And yeah, we just want to, start promoting positivity and camaraderie in the racing, just like in the paddock scene, like you see in real life. And we're seeing a lot of ties between real world racing and virtual, and I think it's great. So to add to that, I'm glad you were able to just award Morgan his award, I presume, right?
Well, we were just talking about his first race, so not yet. We'll grab him when it's over here, obviously.
Okay.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Quick question for you. You guys, Full Send Sims is now offering, have been all year, the one-on-one instructional sessions and the racing schools in between seasons here. Are those still going to be available?
They are. We're going to have an off season, and then we are going to go back to a full 8-week season. One-on-one instructional training is always available on the website. And driver schools, we're going to look at doing them in the off season. We've still got to talk about that. We're looking to do a charity event as well during the 6-week break. So more to come, absolutely.
That's so cool. And we've got a race that's about to unfold, so we'll let you get back in the car and go have some fun. And looking forward to this one unfolding. Andrew, field is underway on the pace lap.
That they are up the S's as we get ready to go racing. And, Greg, once again, here's your top 10.
Take a look at it here. Josh Soto starts up front here. Morgan Burkhardt starts in the second spot. Rowan Gill will start third. Nicholas Rice-Pluto starts fourth in.
From the fifth position, it's Beans Forrester in car 23, Brennan Hornan in car 40. In car 45. From the sixth spot, Giancarlo Schooler. Thanks to finishing seventh, we'll start seventh, just ahead there of Caleb Patry. And to complete your top 10, it's Seelan Rowland and Eric Mickey.
And then we move to 11th. It's Deacon Greenfield. He'll be joined in the 12th spot by Andrew Wozencroft. And up after him in the sixth spot, Caleb Pocock and Court Schmidt doing a nice job before his incident, turning a really nice lap.
Stephen Blethen there in 15th. Charles Boley from 16th. Complete your top 20. It's Seth Spolman, Max Bacon, then Levi Canutt, Jim Friedhofer, and finally, 19th and 20th, Jeremy Shepard. I guess you got a little out of order. Anyways, there it was Brennan Horn and Max Bacon to complete your top 20.
All right, so field is ready, and still a fairly significant amount of pace lap here to be here. And as you can see, the field here working their way. This is the laces of the boot, and everybody getting a chance to have a look at it here. You just fall down into this section of track, and that's what we're talking about. Here's a look at the circuit right now. That is the 90, turn 1. Falls away down into that corner. You can see it flattens out. Then you start to climb through turn 2, 3, and 4. That's the S's. Very little runoff up there. If you have any incident, you're going to hit the wall. Then the inner loop, or the quick chicane, the bus stop. You just flick it through. The outer loop, you climb a little bit coming out of the inner loop into the outer loop, and then you fall all the way down through turn 6 into the laces of the boot. Keep falling down, one of the lower points on the track down to the toe, but as you turn in, you get a little bit of a climb, so you can chuck it in there. You've got gravity, and you've got a little banking, so you can really pin it up through there, flow it up and over the rise, fall down into the heel of the boot, or turn 8, then a very abrupt climb. Got to get out of 8 well, because you're climbing up into 9, and then a blind turn in at 9, and right as you commit, it flattens out, so you better have done it right, because that wall's just sitting there going, hello. And then a quick shot, you accelerate hard, turn 10, very fast left-hander, and then a dab of the brake into 11, and away you go. And we are getting very close to this one, getting back and underway here. As the pace lap going to conclude, pace car is going to make the dive down into pit lane. The final race in this first season of Spec Miata is about to unfold. We're green! Couple of guys in the back moved early. We'll have to see what happens there. But up front, what happens? We had such a clean start the first time here. Are we going to get a repeat of it down into turn 1? Beautiful move around the outside by Rowan Gill. Man, did he flow some speed. He jumps into the lead. Burkhardt sits third. In second, and that's Patry, I think, in third. Oh, and a touch there with Soto. Great save. That's Rice Puto. Man, what a start he got, and is up into third, and then had to save it from the tap.
Looks like you got three teammates right in behind Rowan Gill controlling this race. If they can just get back by the 174 as we go down to the bus stop for the first time. Rowan Gill going to hang on to the lead. Burkhardt, though, coming to the left side as they take the break into the 5th corner on the racetrack, and that could have gotten hairy real quickly as it's side by side for 5th. Soto and Forster. Right behind you got Greenfield and Schooler battling, and to complete your top 10, Pocock and Boley after just a half lap.
I'll tell you what, for Soto, he has just had problems on the start.
Whoa!
Is that Beans?
That was Beans for. No, that was the 18, Charles Boley. It looked like him, but Pocock.
Oh, yeah, it sure did.
Pocock gets by with some damage. Maybe it was in the car. A lot just happened for the second race in a row.
It certainly did.
And there's Boley already back to the pit lane. After this lap concludes, we'll go back and take a look at it, but up front, it's a nice single file line.
Yeah, and I was going to say, going into the bus stop, when you saw Burkhardt swing wide, I don't think he was thinking about an outside move. I was thinking, I think he just wanted to open up the radius into the turn and try and get a really nice drive out of it, maybe do something down into the boot. But again, Rowan Gill covered it, and Rowan, one of the few guys who's been able to upset the Burkhardt apple cart this season. And man, that outside move through 1 was a thing of beauty. I'd like to see that again too, that's for sure.
The lap will go complete here in just one moment. Rowan Gill leading. And into the final corner, it looks like it's going to stay that way. Morgan Burkhardt, I think, would be smart to just stay in that second spot, at least for now. Let some of this race go by. He doesn't need to be first to win this thing. Or at least be first right now, with 22 minutes to go to win this thing.
Absolutely. The two of them have already opened up about a half second back to the rest of the field. But let's go back and take a look. First of all, up and through the S's here, and Rowan had already made that outside move. It was a thing of beauty down in turn 1. Here it is. Watch it here, Andrew. Just a beautiful move.
And that is one benefit to not necessarily starting first, to actually having that outside line through that first corner. You can open up the wheel earlier and just kind of go off the racetrack a bit. You can't do that if you're on the inside. You'll run into the guy to the outside of you.
And then there was that little bit of a tap between Soto and Rice Puto, and he held into it. He held onto it beautifully here as we go back to live action here, and you can see the protection that's. This is
still the replay. We're letting this go through. Yeah, so this is the replay of Burkhardt into the bus stop. He took that moment to just kind of go out wide and, like you said, get a better arc into the bus stop. And side by side still there was Soto with Forster on the outside. And then it was back here around the 6 car, Pocock, where we have this issue out of the carousel. And it was the 18 that gets hooked around. And it was Pocock that gets involved with this. Yeah. Ends up turning the 18 and going for a spin himself. He gathered it up pretty quick.
Yeah, Pocock never hit anything other than the other car when they touched, but he didn't hit that barrier. Man, he got away with one. He lost a lot of positions. A little bit of a tink there from the contact, but otherwise he got away with it here. Now right behind him is Court Schmidt, and Court flinging that car around trying to get after it as he go back up front. Gil, Burkhardt just hanging on with that about a half-second margin. Then Rice Puto and Patry, again, the other 2 teammates to Burkhardt. So Gil's got to be looking in his mirrors going, how do I deal with this?
Pocock now losing that spot to Court Schmidt. You can see he's seen a lot more action in the lap since we took that replay. A couple of cars ending up having to bow out. Once again, Levi Knupp out of the race, 23rd spot, and it looks like done as he had to tow to the pit lane and has been there for just over 1 minute. Here you go, your top 5 though. And they will complete.
Yeah.
They will complete lap number 2 in a nice single file line. And the lane's number 174 continues to lead.
Yeah, Gil doing a really nice job. And behind these 5, Beans Forster is just sort of lurking. Ooh, a big wide run there by Rice Puto, and that may have allowed Patry to get up alongside. They don't want to argue with each other all the way up through the S's here because that group up front is just going to check out here.
And that's really going to leave their wingman hanging of Burkhardt. That's not only going to hurt themselves, but Burkhardt's not going to have his teammates to rely on now. It will make it a mono-e-mono race for car 40, but those teammates have got to get this sorted out quick. And here comes Soto.
Well, yeah, I was going to say Soto trying to make that work to his advantage here. Oh, and it may have done it. He got Rice Puto a little bit offline, but a brilliant save by Rice Puto. And look at that, as Soto had to check up, Forster just comes steaming up the inside. Boy, I'll tell you, Beans made up a lot of ground, and those guys running side by side, he got a double toe, and he made them pay for it.
Yeah, Soto's been so nice, so, I guess, cool, calm, and collected, setting back of crazy moves. Beans Forrester said, if you're not going to take advantage, I will. Went right on through for 5th place, past the 77 car, and is now stationed right behind those 3 teammates in a line. And something tells me if Beans can get to the inside or outside for any of these corners of Rice Puto, he's going to try and take advantage and use that move, but here comes Soto.
Yeah, Soto trying to get a little bit of overlap here, hoping, of course, that Forster is aware of it. Now he's certainly going to be. They are side by side. And will the outside line work through here in turn 8? Soto trying to make it work. If he can stay there, he's got the inside for turn 9. And at this point, if I'm Beans Forster, I say, that wall's looming out there. I'm just going to tuck back in. And another reason is, look who's come up behind him. What a day Schooler is having here as he has joined this front group. And if Forster hadn't covered that, Schooler was coming through.
Schooler now right in behind in what is a 7-car train for your 7 leaders. That's a weird sentence to say. 7 leaders in a place like Watkins Glen, though, is not out of the ordinary. The big gap to 8th is to Brennan Horan in car 45 and Eric Mickey in car 4. Those guys are in 8th and 9th. Andrew Wozencroft with them. But through turn 1, Rowan Gill still leading, only just over Morgan Burkhardt.
Absolutely. Rice Puto running a little bit wide now. And then Soto, with that battle with Forster, they've lost a little bit of touch with this group here. And that just, it's such a momentum car, isn't it? And on this track, it's just flow. And the minute you go side by side, anybody in front of you is going to open a gap up. Anybody behind you is going to close it up. And for Morgan Burkhardt, he's making sure there is no gap between himself and Gill. And you see him check up just a little bit to make sure that he doesn't overrun the entry into that corner and into the chicane. Beautiful job. You can see up front, Gil just balancing the car with a little dab of the brake on occasion. And, well, I'll tell you just that quickly. Look at this. These guys coming right back in. We had 2 gaps starting to build up, and now we're back to that 7 leaders.
The way these guys race here really does look like NASCAR drafting. The way they kind of deform and come right back into a single file line. It just, every couple of corners, they're doing something different, and the one common thing, the one constant, is they just keep on drafting and trying to get after the 174, but they're all playing the game right now. 16 minutes to go. These guys don't need to show their hand yet, and especially Burkhardt. I know at this point he's got the title wrapped up, right, but he wants to sit back. He wants to go perfect, at least on this night, and get himself that second win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's that's what he's all about right now. And the interesting thing is, we talked about, this track's wide, so if you can do something creative, there are spots you can pass. But even so, it isn't one of the easiest tracks to pass on. The best overtaking areas down into one, but these corners, the entries for them, even turn one, are so quick that if you're not well up the inside, it's easy for the guy, to ramp the outside and pitch you down just a little bit, because these corners are all so fast. It's not like there's that really tight, heavy braking zone with a big traction event coming out of it where you can really do something here. And so this is just a massive momentum track, like so many have been this season for these cars.
We'll go on board here with Patrick as he watches Burkhardt stay on the racetrack. Rowan Gill go way out there past the curbing. But it's gray, so it's okay here at Watkins Glen. I've been coming back to this camera a few times. It's kind of a driver's eye point of view, and this, I think, really shows, what the driver's looking at, obviously. That's kind of the idea there, but it also kind of shows the elevation, especially up the S's. It rolls a little bit with the pitch, and you can see just how much of a hill that is as they climb up, and now it's flat into the bus stop. You can also see just how close these guys have to get it to that Armco. Patrick stays back a little bit, but Burkhardt really commits.
Yeah, he really does. And, one of the things that I think people that aren't familiar with racing, when we were on board there with Patry, he's driving through 3 windshields, basically, to see where he's going. His and the 2 guys in front, because they are so close. And that's what just makes this kind of racing so exciting, is you just run in these packs here. And Burkhardt just all over the back of Gill right now. There are times that you could get a couple of sheets of paper between these 2 guys, and some problems here.
Jeremy Shepard leaving the pit lane. He has just completed a pit stop after some issues. A lot of drivers with those issues. A lot of drivers actually visited pit lane. I'll read them off quickly. Seth Spolman, Jim Freidhofer, Luis Milares, Jeremy Shepard, Wayne Buttermore, Rich Green, Caleb Pocock have all been on the pit lane at one point or another, and it looks like Pocock may be finally considering this one done with all that damage to car number 6. Canup and Boley are out of the race.
I'll tell you, this one has taken a little bit of a toll, but still the racing is great. And you know what? It'd be great to see the next time coming out of turn 8 or the heel of the boot, maybe going on board with Gill so you can see, or even Burkhardt, so you can see the climb and that blind entry to that corner and why it's so challenging. Because as you exit, it's kind of like turn 10 here. As you exit, you're staring at a wall, and that is a little unsettling. At any rate. But here we go, coming up 13 and a half minutes to go in this season, not just this race. Down through the 90 into turn 1 once again. A little bit of a gap now. Whoa, Patry running way wide. Didn't cost him much, obviously, as he pops right back on. And these 3 have been able to just create that little bit of a gap, Andrew.
Yeah, just a small gap back to Rice-Buto, and you wonder now if maybe they're going to work a little bit of team orders or not. I mean, if so, Rice-Buto's in a good spot to just hang on to Soto and really not even have to do much, but just raise Soto if they get alongside, and that's going to create a big separation to where Patry and Burkhardt can work a team plan, and that looks exactly like what's happening here. Rice-Buto defends into the bus stop. Soto, too nice to go for anything. He has been the most mild-tempered race car driver I've ever seen on iRacing, and in a good way. He has been so respectful, and not to say anybody around him hasn't been, but a lot of guys with the opportunities he's had tonight on the sim in general would have taken some kind of brash move, and it would not have gone well. He sets himself up nicely, but doesn't want to cause an incident.
Yeah, he's fast, but he's really clean, and he races with a lot of respect. And that just makes you respect him even more, because he isn't a guy that just pitches it in there and bangs off people. He'll give the spot up, and obviously he's a guy I'd rather finish 5th than end up in the wall. and you got to appreciate that. But now he looks in his mirror, and after having a little bit of a gap, Beans Forster and Schooler are right there as well. So, man, I'll tell you, what a great 7-car scrap here. And these three, that margin that they built up, it's pretty much gone.
Here's that wall you were talking about up
Yeah.
the hill in turn 9. Just quickly,
Now
you
here's
got to
the
climb.
turn in. You can see how it flattens out, and if you turn in early, that wall is staring at you right on the exit. And man, if you prang that, it's gonna mess you up.
The one that always got me back in my more active racing days was right here in turn 11, especially from the driver's eye. It's so weird to look at. Of course, it's pretty much a 90-degree angle, maybe a little more. But
Yep.
I often did exactly what Burkhardt just did right there. Wash out to the wall and just get a little bit of that fence. Now, he got it pretty lightly, but usually I was doing it in a NASCAR stock car or a GT3 car where hitting that wall is a lot more costly. And it's just so easy to do, especially at higher speeds. It's so deceiving. It feels like, especially with the natural banking in the track, you can go for so much more. These Miatas are a little more mildly tempered, but it's still no easy corner.
No, it's not. And again, the exit is that wall. I early 2000s, I was announcing a World Challenge race here, and the entire Turner Motorsports BMW team got taken out, all 3 cars, in that final turn. Somebody spun in front of them, and they scattered. There was a touch, and they just pinballed, and all 3 of them were parked. So that's a corner that can bite, no question.
Yeah, it's definitely been a historic corner over the course of the years. Wow, Rice-Puto.
Soto,
Yeah,
Soto
right.
and Rice-Puto. It looked like Soto was going to try and force his way underneath. And those two have touched already in this race, so I think Soto eased out of it that time, not wanting to loosen up Rice-Puto once again.
This is a good look on board of Soto.
And you can see Rice-Puto, they're feinting right just a little bit, just in case Soto was thinking of doing something dramatic, steaming up the inside and up front. Patry running just a little bit wide as they come out of the toe here. Doesn't hurt him at all. And you can use a lot of that curb on the exit here. Off to the right in that shot. That's the viewing area here that is just spectacular. If you ever come up here, go check that out. But look at the stream of cars. I mean, we've been racing for over 15 minutes, and they're still covered by the proverbial blanket.
I want to mention quickly, that was Brennan Horan passing Andrew Wozencroft. Horan was 8th earlier. I guess was bested at some point by Eric Mickey, and now car 45 trying to recover that 8th spot as he has fallen back just a little bit. Other cars in this race, as we've got a little past halfway. Stephen Blethen here in the 11th position. Deacon Greenfield back in 12th. Max Bankin in 13th. A much better run compared to race 1 for him. Court Schmidt also an improvement up to 14th here. Charles Vaccaro has kept the car much cleaner in race 2. He's 15th. Seth Spolman, it looks like turning things around as well, even though he's been in the pit lane at one point about 2 laps ago, and he is now 16th spot. So a lot of drivers that had rough times in race 1 using this as an opportunity to turn it around.
Well, and that's the nice thing about these double headers, isn't it? If you have a bad race, you got a shot at redemption. And if you're a front runner, you can still go for a podium. If you're a guy a little bit deeper in the pack, you can, try and get that top 10 after a tough go. It gives you opportunity here. And again, Soto is so fast up through the S's right now. He continues to get a run. Now he's going to go to the outside of Rice-Puto. And we'll see whether he's going to force the issue here, try and steam it around the outside. And he says, no, I'm just going to tuck right back in again. Really clouts that first left-hand curve, but gathers it up. But as you can see, once again, as soon as he came up along the outside of Rice-Puto, that margin appears for those guys up front, Gil Burkhardt and Patry. These guys close it down again a little bit, but, when you're not drafting, running, nose to tail, you just, both of you are punching a big hole there, and you just lose a little bit of track distance. Oh, big off in the back by Schooler. I think he gathered it up. Yeah,
he does.
Lost a lot of ground.
Schooler hangs on, and I wonder if Soto would be able to, down the backstretch one of these times, just push the 13 of Rice-Puto into his teammates and see if he can try and either get them alongside of each other or get Rice-Puto to have to check up or something. But given how kind he's been, I don't know if he's going to as he takes a look to the inside in turn 8. He will take that, though, gets on by. I guess he doesn't have to worry about it. That was a perfect pass in turn 8, and finally, if he's able to set up nicely through the first sector like he has been all race long, he could have a really good opportunity here on Burkhardt and Patry.
Yeah, he's got a shot now because he's been so quick, especially through the exit of 1 and up through the S's. And that's, if he's right now, let's see his margin. Ooh, he's right on the cusp of being able to get a bit of a toe here. So if he can really do what he's been doing through 1 and the start of the S's, you're right. He's got a big opportunity here. And it was a beautiful pass because he got just enough overlap on Rice-Puto that Nick knew I can't just turn down here or we're going to touch. And Nick did the smart move, just open the wheel up, let Soto come through, and now he's going to start chasing. So let's ride on board here with Soto. Here's the exit of 1, and this is where he really normally makes up some serious speed. Let's see if he's able to close the gap up to Patry and the group up front. And it looks like he's taking little chunks out of it here.
He's in the draft. He is closing, while it is ever so slightly. It might take a couple of laps for him to really set this up and get close, but he just pulled off a 10th. Here comes a 10th and a half, maybe 2 tenths by the time they get down to the bus stop. He really picked up. That was perfect execution from Soto just to get a little bit, to start climbing his way back up. And with these 3 stacked up, you can already see the effect. Patry actually lost time in the bus stop, and Soto is just going to have this fall in his lap.
Well, and Soto just attacked that first 2 parts of the inner loop and straight-lined it more than I've seen anybody else do. And boy, did it pay off beautifully as he's joined the back. But the problem right now for Soto is he's hauling Rice-Puto and Forster right with him, and Schooler trying to recover from that little wide run through the laces of the boot and stay with it here. And we've got some traffic coming up in front of these guys as well. And as the old adage goes, traffic giveth, traffic taketh away. And a nice job by that car. Just saw what was unfolding behind him, eased over to the right, and Rich Green just said, go after it, guys. I want to watch this race.
He's in a great seat to watch it now for turn 8. Burkhardt still on the back bumper of Rowan Gill. That time has to give a little bit of separation into the corner. And that's the trouble is, as you mentioned, Soto pulls because he's so good in that bus stop. He's so good attacking corners right now. He pulls Rice-Puto along with, because Rice-Puto, he knows now that Soto is so aggressive on corner entry, he doesn't have to lean back as far in the draft. He can use more of that draft and keep that corner entry speed up and not have to lift. So, really pulling that 13 car along with him, and we're going to have one heck of a battle here, I think, these last 2 laps. 2 to go this time.
Well, and I wonder here if Soto, when he kind of got freight trained a little bit at the start, after the first race, the interesting thing is that first race you learn a lot, right, in that first race, and I wonder if he said, I'm okay with laying back just a little bit and trying to keep tires underneath the car, because he has really started to come alive here. And as you said, be able to attack corners. And looks like Caleb Patry, third car in this battle for the lead here, is starting to lose a little bit of patience. He's really pushing hard. You can see Burkhardt working up through the S's, and Patry has looked in, he's looked out, and when is somebody gonna? And you can see Gill is now getting worried because we're into our last couple of laps. Right
Whoa,
now.
Soto!
Gill's protecting. Wow, Soto got a monster run.
Soto finally said, I'm going for it. He turns
tapped.
in. Oh, and he turned in right into the left rear of Caleb Patry. Had to bail out quickly there, and unfortunately his run for the win is done. Patry was there. Thankfully, everybody hangs on. We still have 6 cars racing, just minus the 77 car. It's made it so exciting.
Well, there's the announcer's curse, right? Just talking about maybe a strategy by Soto. And he also cut the chicane, so I'm sure he got a little bit of a slowdown. So he's back there a little bit. Now the question is, can Rice-Puto, Forster, and a closing Schooler get up and continue to make this a 6-car train? I think we might get 2 laps left. It all depends on just how quickly we get through this. Lap times are what, in the 2:15, 2:16 range. We'll see where that susses out here.
It's going to be close, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Last lap for these guys, a 2:17.2, 2:17.1. In the case of Rice-Puto, a 2:16.7. So it's kind of all over. And I also wonder, just going off of the times, I know draft is a big part of this, but has maybe Rowan Gill been saving ever so slightly where he can? And backing up to the bumper of Burkhardt, knowing that Burkhardt's going to wait until a moment like this, maybe. And no. Gets right back in behind Gill. But I wonder if he's been trying to save his car at all, knowing that Morgan would sit behind him.
Yeah, just, maybe driving just fast enough to lead, protecting a little bit, but we haven't seen him pinching a lot of lines anywhere. No, we're on our last lap. Last lap of the race, last lap of the season. You can see Soto in the background. He'll be just beside himself right now, but I'll tell you what, this battle at the front, we still have 6 cars. If any mistake is made by anybody up front and gathers anybody else up, those guys in the back, boy, I'll tell you, I think that was Forster who ran way wide there. They're throwing everything at it right now, but Gil, Burkhardt, and Patry, and here we go. Burkhardt taking a look. He's to the inside there, and his teammate, Patry, goes, all right, buddy, I'm going with you here. Let's make it work. And the big deal is going to be here, how much of a run does Gil get? Can he stay inside? Burkhardt's already clear, and Patry might get him as well.
That was the bit of choreography we were waiting on, but Patry still alongside, not able to clear Rowan Gill, and slides back in behind the 174, so it is more or less mano-a-mano for the race lead. Morgan Burkhardt and Rowan Gill, they are still left to fight it between themselves unless Caleb Patry can get an overlap for that second spot, and he might. Had a good run for a moment through the carousel, kind of ran out wide and loses it for the laces.
Yeah, this is fascinating because had Patry got through, Gill's day in terms of a win was done. It's still a great shot at the podium, but now Gil, he's going to be looking for any opportunity he can. Where might he be able to do something? Thought about the big lunge down there, and I was waiting to, if Burkhardt took the bait, if he would have tried to turn in and lost speed, but Burkhardt just ramped his line, and quickly Gil went for that look and then came right back in line again. I think that's Rice Puto taking a little peek on Forster. Forster actually behind them.
On Patry, rather.
Rice Puto and Patry, yeah.
Yeah, teammates, that's really going to lock down the first and second for Burkhardt and Gil, as here comes Patry back over the racetrack, contact with his teammate Rice Puto, and now comes through Forrester in the 23 car for fourth. What can Rowan Gill do, as we've got a 3-wide situation out of turn 9?
Yeah, the battle for the last step of the podium is a 3 abreast. They all come together. Is that going to be that was a brilliant save by Rice Puto, but it cost him dearly. Here we go, Burkhardt onto the back or onto the front straight one last time. Does Gil have anything left in terms of a toe? No, it's not going to be close enough. And Morgan Burkhardt will clinch the championship in the best way possible, Andrew, with a sweep of both races. And right at the line there, I'll tell you what, Mickey and Horn having one heck of a run as well.
Here they come to the line. Horan will finish in the 8th spot, Mickey in 9th. And how about Soto? Because of what happened with Rice Puto in the last couple of corners, Soto still finishes in front of car 13.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Those two guys were just battling for the entire race. It was incredible. And let's give a shout out to Schooler. He was at the back of that group, dropped back, would gather him back in again. And because of that, the incident with Soto and then Rice Puto, Schooler ends up in a top 5. How about that? Great stuff.
Still waiting on results to be official. A few more cars to finish, those being Seth Spolman, Jim Freidhofer, Jeremy Shepard, Luis Milares, and it looks like Wayne Buttermore yet to finish this race. Buttermore is back here, it looks like, in turn... Oh, I'm not sure where this is on the racetrack just yet. I think that's the Laces. So he's got a little ways to go. It is.
Yeah, he does. That's a great graphics wrap on that car, isn't it? And
you can't miss it.
No, it's beautiful. It's taking the kind of classic Mazda graphic package that the renowned Mazda sponsorship of the first Japanese car to ever win at Le Mans, and just adding some different flair to it. Beautiful car. Wayne Buttermore doing a nice job sitting in that 20th spot. Some other people to talk about. Wozencroft up into 10th. Nice run for him. There's Milares as he comes through. Jeremy Shepard as well.
There's Freidhofer as well, finishing up the race. And it looks like Burkhardt doing some celebration out here in turn 1. Well earned over the course of a season. It's never easy, Greg, to go through really any amount of races. Any more than one race. Even one race is difficult, but any series of races, and to come out on top in a situation like this, especially a car as even as the Spec Miata, that just takes all drivers and kind of levels them out to an even playing field. It says something for Burkhardt to come home with so many wins in this series, such a dominant season.
Yeah, he just controlled it right from the off. As I said, Gil showed up. He missed, I think, the opening 2 rounds. Then he showed up 3rd round, actually beat Burkhardt, but then Burkhardt came back and dominated. Then Caleb Patry got a win on Burkhardt, but generally it has been Morgan Burkhardt, and he is enjoying this moment. I was impressed right there seeing Burkhardt and Gill doing the synchrony, the synchronous donuts there. That was really, really cool as well. So, all right, everybody punches out, and let's take a look at the official results. Morgan Burkhardt getting the win by about a quarter of a second over Rowan Gill. Then Patry a little bit farther back. Beans Forster in the right spot, right time, jumps to fourth. And Giancarlo Schooler, absolutely superb run up into the top 5, Andrew.
Yeah, really impressive there from car 111. He was just kind of waiting in the background and, well, waited just in the right spot, the right time, took advantage of Soto and Rice-Buto's issues, and comes home fifth. You see Soto there in sixth. How impressive that he's able to still get Rice-Buto when they have that issue through turn 9. Brennan Horan in eighth. Eric Mickey and Andrew Rosencroft will round out your top 10.
Yeah, just a great day of racing as we take a look at the rest of it. In 11th, the 50 of Steve Blethen. In the 12th spot, 32 of Deacon Greenfield. 13th, Max Bankin. And in the 14th spot, Court Schmidt making good after that tough race and starting deep in the field on that second race. Charles Vaccaro rounds out your top 15.
Yeah, glad that Court was able to make better of it, as well as Max Bankin, even Deacon Greenfield. Those guys able to really improve for race number 2 here tonight. Seth Spolman at 16th. Freidhofer, Shepard, Malaris, and Buttermore, the rest of the top 20. There's only a few cars left to go. Rich Green, the only other car left running at the finish, with Pocock, Canutt, Boley, Rowland, and Huffman, and even Ray out of the race early. A lot of trouble for those guys in the back.
Yeah, that was tough, and I feel for Jamison Huffman because he was really quick. We saw that amazing drive after a tough qualifying up through the pack in that first race. I think he made up something on the order of 15 spots. That's impressive, and has been so quick when we've seen him, and then to have him struggle here in this final race of the championship. But wow, what a season it's been, and what a great way to finish it, Andrew. For most of the race, 7 cars duking it out for the lead. That's just spectacular.
Well, Greg, you spoke to him earlier. It's your season champion. 2 wins on the night. He sweeps Watkins. Glen, Morgan Burkhardt coming back to you.
Hey, Morgan, welcome back. Congratulations. No better way to win a championship than by sweeping the final 2 races. Man, you have earned this one. Congratulations on your championship.
Thank you very much. It's been difficult all season long. It's been hard. I mean, I've really had to work for this. Results may look kind of demoralizing, but each one of the wins was never given to me, and this round especially for Caleb, really thankful for him. I don't think I would have been able to get Rowan if I didn't get the bump coming up the hill to the bus stop, but yeah, it's so many people helping me towards this championship with Caleb, Nick, JC, Jameson, everybody on the Delta Sport team, Brian Vorst, of course, and Majors Garage as well, helping him behind the scenes. It's an awesome effort.
Well, it is, and you're right. You just look at the results, and it looks like, wow, just dominated the whole year. But there were only a couple where you had it marginally comfortable. The rest of them, you had to earn big time, but you were able to do it, and that's pretty spectacular. And we're having a look here at that moment when Caleb, when you went to the outside of Gill, coming up through the S's to start that last lap. And Caleb being the good teammate, and the rear gunner comes up and just gives you that little tap to just push you by.
Yeah, honestly, I think if Caleb hadn't have been there, it would have been a real dogfight coming into the bus stop. I don't think I would have been able to clear him. We would have gone side by side, and then who knows who would have come out on top. So, yeah, I'm super thankful for Caleb and helping me. But yeah, like you said, it's only a couple races I've won by like more than a second or two. Everything else I really had to work for. So. Super thankful for everybody.
Your pursuers have been relentless, and when you earn something like that, and you still stack up the wins, it's got to be amazingly gratifying. And you're getting a lot of great stuff. I mean, you're getting a trophy, you're getting some hardware. You're also, obviously just after a great season. And Court Schmidt told me that this year he wanted to institute the Full Send Sims Greg Creamer Perpetual Trophy. And he said, who gets it is my choice for whatever reasons I want to award it. And, Morgan, I looked at a lot of the competitors, but you're going to get that first ever award. And one, because I've just been amazed and impressed all year. One, with your precision. Two, with your racecraft, having a sense of when to maybe get out of it and when to attack. Third, just your presentation for us here, offering to do those live calls during qualifying, with an onboard, even when you had the flu last week. Obviously, you're feeling better. And then the fact that mid-season, you got to ask if you'd like to be an instructor and give away some of your secrets to some of these drivers. And you very quickly said, "You bet, I'd be happy to do it." So you are the first winner of the Greg Creamer Perpetual Trophy Award. So collecting a lot here this season, and man, you've earned every bit of it. It has been a joy to watch you race and to call your races.
I know you can't see it right now, but I'm beaming ear to ear. I'm very grateful. That's amazing. I don't even have words. I really appreciate everything. So
well, enjoy it, my friend. You've earned every bit of it here. Just a superb season. I hope you're back for when we start season 2. I want to keep calling your races. It's just a treat.
I'll for sure be back. Thank you very much.
All right, Morgan Burkhardt, man, what a deserving champion. Well done, Andrew. He's been impressive all year, and this one was just the icing on the cake. He did it again.
And tonight he does it by beating out Rowan Gill, Caleb Patry, and so many others to the line here at a place like Watkins Glen. I think Court Schmidt, though, has a bit more for you here, Greg. He ends up really, again, turning his night around, finishes 14th in race number 2, and it sounds like this season as a whole was a big one for him and the whole league.
Well, I think so, and obviously, Court, as we welcome you in here, nice run in this race. I know you're actually joining us for something else at this stage, but just a remarkable season. Obviously we hope that what you were envisioning for the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing season, and of course Spec Miata, that it's at least met what you were hoping it would be. It sure seems to have been just a superb season with some amazing racing.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. I'm just over the moon with everything and the results, of the inaugural season, and like I said, just the support from everyone, and it's just been outstanding. So, and I'm really excited to see where this all goes, and we couldn't have done this without 3P Logistics and Final Turn. Those guys are just outstanding. They took a chance on us, and now we're getting a lot more interest for sponsors to come aboard. So we're just going to keep growing it and take it to the moon.
Well, obviously, you guys have put so much into it, and to see that payoff is just fantastic. And I think you've got another award that you want to present here.
I do. So if we can pull him in now. Let me see here. Can I? All right, there we go. So we've got Rich Green with us here. Rich came in the league, and he's run all the way through the start, and we've seen him grow as a driver, and he's just been outstanding, and so Full Send Sims wanted to come up with an award to really kind of identify the goals of the league, and just our business model in general. We promote, like I said, camaraderie and positivity, and just great training, and Rich has really been the epitome of that, and it all boils down to sportsmanship in our eyes. So Rich, we'd like to present you with the Full Send Sims Sportsmanship Award for the first season of the FSS Spec Miata series. And congratulations. We're happy to have you, and we can't be happier with everything that you've done, even off the track. You've gone to every driver school, you've taken some one-on-one instruction, and I think you've really benefited from it. And so yeah, we'd like to congratulate you.
Well, I am totally speechless. I appreciate this. I never thought in a million years that I would win an award for racing. I'm so new to this that I'm very green at it, but I'm having a blast learning from you guys, and just driving itself, and I'm just having a good time with it, and I'm just going to continue to try to get better and hopefully get up there in the top or mid tiers instead of being in the back doing Sunday drives, but other than that, I appreciate it. It's awesome. I love it. So and I wanted something to fill the void because I was an avid golfer, and of course I've had back issues and I can't golf anymore. So
Yep.
this has definitely filled the void, and I'm going to continue and try to get as good as you guys, and maybe even better. Who knows?
Well,
Well,
absolutely. Go ahead.
Sorry, Greg, go ahead.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
no. I was just going to say, Rich, that determination, obviously, having interest in a different sport, finding that you can't do that anymore, and saying, I've got this competitive drive. What can I do? And then committing to it like you did. I completely understand why Court and the Full Send Sims group selected you for this award. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Court?
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Like we said, hey, practice makes podium, right? You've been doing it, and you're working your way up there. I unfortunately haven't been practicing myself as much, and it's been showing. So I've just got to start practicing again. Just got to find the time, right?
I hear you. Well, I appreciate everything, you guys. And like I said, I'm going to continue to go down this path and see where I can go with it, and hopefully get up there with the upper tier competition and go from there.
Well, I'll tell you what, you just live up to your sponsor on the side of the car, Iron Maiden, man. You're a hard rocker, and we expect to see you moving up through the pack. So,
Alrighty, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
You bet. Well done, man. And Court, I know one of the reasons you haven't been practicing on the sim as much is you've been doing real-world driving, like delivering sims to places like Wisconsin. So we'll give you a pass on that one, brother.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a little tough to find the time, but it's all good problems to have. We've been super busy with the new business and everything, and people are taking a liking to it. So I'll take that any day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Again, thank you so much for your vision for this series, asking us to get involved with it, and then just being a part of some absolutely phenomenal racing. It's absolutely been a pleasure. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You bet. Hey, Andrew, anybody else in the booth?
We do have the top three up next. Or I guess maybe not the top three. Looks like we don't have Rowan Gill, but we do have Caleb Patry and Beans Forrester, and here is Patry teammates Morgan Burkhardt.
Well, Caleb, obviously, if you were listening, you heard Morgan say that he really attributed this win today to you being the perfect teammate and the perfect rear gunner. And you've been one of the few guys to be able to get out in front and beat him on occasion. But you guys just seem to work together so well, and it keeps you right up in the sharp end of things all the time. Another podium for you, man. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of a weird night. I joined with like 8 minutes left to go in qualifying, so I got 2 laps. So race 1 was just kind of get used to the car, get used to the track, and towards the end I knew I had some decent pace. So race 2 was just kind of be patient, work with my teammates because I knew they were around me, and just try to be up there at the end. But that last lap I pushed Morgan to the front. I couldn't clear Rowan, and I had a run on him coming out of the boot, or the toe of the boot, but then missed the shift, so I was kind of over there. But I was happy with it. It was a good drive.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely a great drive, and it was evident to me that especially down through turn 1, through the 90 and then heading up into the S's, that you had speed late in the race. Was sitting back there a little bit, even though it may not have been exactly what you wanted to do necessarily. But did it give you an opportunity to preserve a little bit of tire and just have a little bit more stick later?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I know I was pretty evenly matched with the guys ahead of me, and passing them would just kind of be a wash because, either I'd get ahead and not pull away, or I wouldn't, and then the rest of the guys would catch back up. So it was just kind of a matter of conserving the tires and just trying to stay with them.
Well, you did an absolutely great job, and again, another podium. Just really a pleasure to watch you race and to be able to call your racing. So glad you've been a part of this championship.
Well, thank you. It's really cool to hear you guys announcing this.
Thanks, man. Well, loving doing it, that's for sure.
I think we're all glad.
Yeah,
for sure.
Good deal, man. You're a great addition to it, no question.
Well, I really appreciate it. I hope to see you back too next season, Greg.
Well, that's the plan.
Awesome.
So, I'm loving it. I'm having a great time doing this. and you guys put on such a good show. It's just fun. So yeah, as long as Court will have me, I'll do my best to be a part of it.
All right. Well, I'll hold court to it.
All right, I like that. We'll get you that 20 later.
Oh yes, perfect.
Gotta pay off the drivers, I guess.
Yep.
Well, there's Caleb Hatcher. He finishes third place tonight, bottom step on the podium. Greg, one more driver, it looks like, in the waiting booth is going to be Benjamin Beans Forster. He was aggressive tonight, but kind of sat back in that first race. A lot better in race 2.
Yeah, Beans, you had a really good run in that second race. It looked like you just were, either struggling to find pace in that first race, or the qualifying didn't go quite like you liked. What was the case in that first race? Because you sure rebounded in that second one.
Yeah, I started a little bit further back than I would have liked to. I think I definitely could have had a P4 time during qualifying, but during that fast lap that I did, I threw like about a half a second away, just trying to manage the traffic. I was gaining a draft off them, but then I also had to work my way around. So I was even surprised that from that last lap that I did, I got there, and so that was kind of why I was a bit slow in that first race.
Well, you sure rebounded in the second one, and in terms of size of lead group, I mean, for that almost that whole race, there were 7 of you that were really duking it out for the lead, and you were right in the middle of it for a lot of it. That had to be just insane but fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of surprising too, because most of the races this season, the second race, usually there was more of a breakaway, but this was kind of the opposite. I was a bit surprised.
Yeah, and I also want to throw out some kudos to you. I know you're one of the instructors. You were asked early and jumped onto that that bandwagon, and just helping make other drivers better as well. That's got to be pretty fulfilling. As well as the actual racing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I remember when I first started sim racing, I had to figure everything out myself, and the hardest part was figuring out what was good to learn and what I shouldn't learn. I kind of soaked everything up like a sponge, including all the good and the bad. So the bad habits that I built, I then had to break those away, and it's a lot harder to break those bad habits than it is to build up from the ground up. And I love racing so much that if I have the ability to make someone better and be able to teach them the things that I wish I knew when I started, that's kind of my main goal for that.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that that says it all. And you're so right. When you learn something, the wrong thing to do, unlearning it becomes really tough. So when there's a resource out there for a driver like you, to be able to to tap into that and say, hey, I'm new to this, I'm struggling, what do I need to do? That's just a real gift for everybody out there. And I got to tell you, it's also a gift for us to be able to call your races and watch you race. You just do a great job, and you give a lot back, man. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. It's an honor to be able to at least interview with you, let alone be in a race with you broadcasting. Never in my life would I've ever seen something like this happen. So I want to thank you too, Greg.
Man, it has been absolutely my pleasure. I am enjoying this. Probably not quite as much as you guys behind the wheel, but it has just been great fun. And I think Court's vision on this has really created something special, and you've been a big part of that, bud. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Full Send Sims, for putting this on. It's definitely best league in iRacing I've absolutely ever driven in, and I hope it's going to be the best on the service one day.
Well, I'll tell you what, we hope so too, and really appreciate those kind words and kudos. We'll see you for the next season, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. I'll never miss a season.
All right. I love it. Thanks so much, man. And have a great rest of your evening. You've earned it.
Yeah, you too, guys. Thank you very much.
That's Beans Forster from the 4th position this evening. Started 5th, grabbed a spot on his way to that 4th place finish. Greg, I know it was a little bit of a different situation, but thanks for working with me here. I'm always glad to take over for Kyle when he needs the help, and hopefully you guys have a really good weekend in COTA. I know it's going to be a big one, just like this was tonight here for this Full Send Sim season.
Yeah, it was. It was a great season. It was a great race tonight. Actually, Kyle is obviously in COTA as he's calling, going to be calling the opener for Grid Life. I'm actually in Daytona calling the opener for Moto America.
Oh, well, there you go.
Having some fun with some motorcycles. So we're coming at you from a lot of different directions, but in the end, we're all coming at you for a bit of a full send here. No question about it. Andrew, thanks so much. Did a great job filling in and, not just announcing, but, producing the coverage. Really appreciate your efforts there. So a big thank you to you. And I do want to say, one last thing for this season, a huge thanks to Final Turn Motorsports, one of our presenting sponsors, to 3P Logistics, and Frank Rodriguez, and I should say Rob Greenwood, owner of Final Turn, and of course to Full Send Sims for their title sponsorship of this one. Andrew, thanks so much. And with that, we're going to wrap up the first season of the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing series and season 1 for Spec Miata. And I think Court said it's going to be about an 8-week break. We'll be back with season 2. We hope to see all of you coming back and enjoying this remarkable racing series. Andrew, thanks much, man.
Racers say they are fearless, that there's no such thing as too fast. That there's no such thing as too narrow. They'll say they feel safe. That danger is their comfort zone. Track like Watkins Glen, it'll test your confidence. 3.4 miles of claustrophobic steel walls closing in around you. And between these walls, you better be in control. And hope that everyone else is too.